Not everything in the woods with glowing eyes is considered a cryptid, despite what the internet might suggest. The term cryptid has been applied incorrectly, and today the Department of Cryptid Investigation is here to issue clarification on the matter. Today I'm going to talk about the different classifications of cryptids and what counts as a cryptid and what does not. So in order to correct people's misconceptions about cryptids, I'm going to turn to one of the most structured attempts to define the field of cryptozoology. Cryptozoologist George Eberheart constructed one of the most comprehensive lists of categorizing mystery animals. So rather than treating every monster report the same, Eberhardt took all the creature reports that he got and divided them into 10 distinct categories. Along with these 10 categories, he also offers 6 exclusions from them. I have a list of cryptids, and as we go through, I will categorize them to help you understand what counts and what does not. Alright, so let's go into category 1, distribution anomalies. So this category takes into account known animals that are reported outside of their normal geographic range. In other words, the animal exists, it's just not supposed to be there. So the first example of a creature that fits into category 1 is the Beast of Exmoor. It is a large black cat that was found in England, and normally panthers and other big cats, they exist, but England is not their natural habitat, which is why they are categorized as a cryptid. And my second cryptid that fits with category 1 are phantom kangaroos. These are kangaroos that appear in the US, which obviously they don't belong there, and it's unexplained how they got there in the first place. Moving on to category number 2, we have unusual, undescribed, or oversized variations of known species. Okay, so our first example of a cryptid that fits this category are the giant anacondas of the Amazon. So anacondas are obviously known to live in the Amazon, but these oversized versions of them are thought to be biologically impossible. Next up for this category, I'm going to put the Oklahoma octopus. So the Oklahoma octopus also kind of fits in the first category, but I think it fits well in this category because of how unusual its circumstances. Basically, the Oklahoma octopus is living in a freshwater body, and there are no octopi that are known to biology to be freshwater octopi. So that is why it's extra unusual and fits into this category. Now on to category 3, survivals of recently extinct species. Alright, so my first example that I'm categorizing under category 3 is the Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger was declared extinct in 1936, and the last one that was known to survive died in captivity, but somehow sightings of this creature still persist, which is why it is considered a cryptid. And our next example for this category is the ivory-billed woodpecker. Similarly to the Tasmanian tiger, the ivory-billed woodpecker was presumed to be extinct. But yet there's still claims of sightings of the creature in the American South. So now for category 4, it's kind of similar to category 3. Category 4 is species known only from fossils that are reported to be alive today. So a great example of a creature that would fit this category is the Mokele mbembe. So this long-necked creature is said to inhabit the Congo Basin, and it's often compared to a sauropod dinosaur. And if this cryptid does exist, then it would represent a surviving prehistoric lineage. And arguably the most famous creature to fit into this category would be the Loch Ness Monster, which potentially would be linked to a surviving species of plesiosaur. Alright, on to category 5, lingerings. So lingerings are species believed to be extinct thousands of years ago, but they were reported surviving later into historical times. So it's like category 4, except instead of existing today, they just exist later in history, but still before our time. So an example of category 5 would be the woolly mammoth, which is a creature that was supposed to have gone extinct roughly 4,000 years ago. And it fits into this category because of alleged reports that it survived later than the 4,000 years ago time frame that was supposed to be extinct. And similarly, there are reports of the giant ground sloth and how it survived later than it had previously been thought to be extinct. Alright, next up we have category 6, unknown animals related to known species but not found in fossil record. So the examples that I have for category 6 are the Andean wolf and the striped manta ray, which are related to known species but just slightly different in a variation that is not known to currently exist biologically. Now on to category 7, completely unknown animals. So Eberhard actually classifies Bigfoot within this category, suggesting that it's not closely enough related to known species in order to fit into any other category. And our second example would be sea serpents that are not closely related enough to other species in order to be in other categories. Category 8 is mythical creatures with zoological basis. So for this category, we have the griffin. So the griffin is obviously a mythological creature, but it is made up of parts from known species, and it can possibly be inspired from fossil discoveries of different species found next to each other in fossil findings. And next up we have the kraken. And the kraken is basically just an exaggerated version of the giant squid with the ability to pull boats under the water. Now for a fun one, we have category 9, paranormal animal-like entities. So I'm going to put Mothman into category 9. Mothman, obviously, by the name Moth, he has ties to animals, but he is a paranormal entity that is said to be associated with prophetic sightings. And secondly, I'm going to put the black shuck into this category, and it's basically a spiritual dog creature that kind of, fits into this category. And our last category of identification is category 10, hoaxes and misidentifications. So I think the greatest example of this category would be the jackalope, which is obviously a large known hoax. And next up, I'm going to put the Fiji mermaid into this category, which was a hoax by P.T. Barnum. Now onto the exclusions. So first up we have exclusion by insignificance. So that would be if someone saw a frog and they're like, yo, this frog has eyes slightly bigger than I've ever seen before. It's just not significant enough to cause any kind of, attention. So our second category of disinclusion is lack of controversy. So in any case that counts as a cryptid, there has to be two sides. One side that discredits the sighting and one side that supports the sighting. Because if everyone agrees that an animal exists, then it's zoology, and if everyone agrees that it doesn't exist, then it's fake. Category 3 of exclusion is erratics. So these are basically creatures like described in category 1, where they're discovered outside of their known habitat, except these creatures are clearly put there by human agency, and if they were put there by human agency, then that does not count as a cryptid. So if you bring your friends over to your apartment and you have your pet anaconda in your bathtub, but they know you have a pet anaconda and they see it in your bathtub, that's not a cryptid, that's just your pet anaconda. Category 4 of disinclusion are bizarre humans. So he's basically arguing that cryptids have to relate in some way to non-human animals. So anything like zombies or a tribe of cannibalistic hermits that live in the mountains would not count as cryptids.
If it files taxes, it's not a cryptid.
And similarly, the next category for disinclusion are angels and demons. So like I said before, cryptids have to take some kind of animalistic form, and angels and demons don't really cut it. There are some exceptions, such as the Jersey Devil, because it has animalistic features like I was discussing before. And last up, this might be the most controversial disinclusion. Disinclusion number 6 is aliens. So under Eberhart's classification system, aliens such as the Fresno Nightcrawler and the Flatwoods Monster would be disincluded from the category of being a cryptid. So often these paranormal aliens get lumped into cryptids online, but according to Eberhart, they do not count. So let me know if you guys agree or disagree with Eberhart's classification system, and if you have any arguments for or against it. But I accidentally knocked down one of the filing cabinets while trying to grab this, so I gotta go reorganize that now before the higher ups get back. So I'll see you guys later.